Hello, everyone, and welcome to Economics and You. I am your host, Mr. Samuelson. Today, we are looking at restrictions on world trade, those pesky little things that stop world trade from happening. First, let's look at those restrictions. Now, sometimes a nation wants to restrict trade with other nations. They don't want to have it be easy and simple. They can do this for several reasons. They can do this because they want to punish other nations. Okay, we're going to punish you. Bad nation, bad. I'm not going to trade with you. You're bad. Or they can do it to increase our national income. I'm going to tax you guys and I'm going to get rich. Woo! Or you can do it to protect your domestic industries. They're my industries. I want to keep them safe. I want to love them and show them that I care. Those are the three reasons why you might want to put restrictions on trade. We're going to look at examples of each. First, we have tariffs. Tariffs is just a big fancy word that means taxes on imported goods. So if Great Britain wants to make something and sell it in the United States, we're going to slap a little extra tax on there in order to make those British goods more expensive. Now, we might want to do this for two reasons. We have something called a revenue tariff. A revenue tariff is just, we're going to tax British goods because we want the money. Money. I want revenue. You're going to sell in my country. I'm going to tax it. Woohoo! Revenue tariff. The other one is a protective tariff. So, you want to sell your goods in my country, eh? Well, I've got my own companies I want to protect. So, you think you can sell it cheaper than me? Nuh-uh. I'm going to tax it. So you need to raise your prices. Buy American. Woohoo! That would be why you would have a protective tariff. So those are tariffs, two reasons why you might do it. Quotas and embargoes are different things. A quota is kind of an alternative to a protective tariff. You'd put it in for the same reason. You want to protect your local industries. So what quotas do is they limit the amount of a specific good which can be imported. Let's look over at the graph here. All right, so we have our supply of domestic goods. And of course, this is our demand line. We know demand. And if we have just a little bit of foreign goods, it is going to shift. Of course, our price goes down and our quantity demanded goes up. And that's how our supply and demand line works. But if we don't have this quota, this line could be way over here for all we know, driving prices way down and making it difficult for domestic businesses to make any money. So we put a quota on goods to make sure that this line doesn't shoot all the way to the right. Embargoes, well, an embargo restricts trade with a specific country, usually done for a political reason. The United States kind of famously had an embargo on Cuba for like forever because we didn't like that they were communist. Bad communists. How dare you be communist? We're going to embargo your country. That's what we did for a super long time. We only recently stopped doing that. The rest of the world did not agree with the U.S. doing this. Nobody else had an embargo on Cuba. It really wasn't very effective. And now it's done. All right. So we do also have, though, an embargo right now on Syria. We don't like what the Syrian government is doing in their civil war. You're going to use gas on your own people. You're going to murder your own people because you don't want them to have free speech and you don't want them to speak out against you. Yeah, we're not okay with that. So we're going to embargo you, and we're going to not trade with you, and we're going to encourage other nations not to trade with you. And the embargo on Syria has, not been very effective. Embargoes are not always that effective. All right, free trade. So free trade is the idea that we get rid of all this garbage. We get rid of all the restrictions. No quotas, no tariffs, no embargoes. Well, maybe still embargoes a little bit, but no quotas, no tariffs. It's the idea that we should get rid of these things that are barriers to trade. We should let goods trade as freely as possible. The reason why we like this is free trade reduces costs of goods. Okay, if Belize in Central America can make bananas more cheaply than we can here in the United States, then we should buy our bananas from Belize and pay less for bananas. Free trade. All right. That's the idea. Of course, a disadvantage is that it does cost American jobs because all of a sudden, if we can buy those bananas from Belize and it costs us $1 a pound instead of $2 a pound. Well, all the banana farms in the United States go out of business. Bye bye, banana industry. We lose all those jobs. Now, this isn't just happening with bananas, right? This is happening with cars because labor costs are lower in Mexico and they're lower in China than they are in the United States. We have our cars mostly assembled in Mexico and then they're brought over to the United States, finished up. That last process is complete in the United States, so we can slap that made in American sticker on it. But still, this is foreign goods coming into the United States. All those jobs would have been in the United States before, but Mexican labor is cheaper. Free trade allows us, we get our cars for less expensive, right? We can get that fancy brand new car for $15,000 instead of $18,000. Yay! But a whole bunch of American factories shut down. Boo. All right, World Trade Organization. Hey, something happened with my formatting here. I'm just going to pretend nothing happened and that we can all read this really clearly. The World Trade Organization, that's what that says. World Trade Organization, or the WTO, works to reduce these barriers to trade. They want to limit quotas. They want to limit tariffs. They want to get rid of that stuff as much as possible. And it tries to make sure that nations are treated fairly with each other. For example, if a nation imposes a tariff and it's really just kind of so that you can make money, there's no real good reason for you to have this tariff, and you really have no plans to get rid of that tariff, well, the WTO is going to pressure you to change those policies. One way they can pressure it is just simply by saying, hey, United States, you know, that tariff that you have on foreign steel, that's not really cool. And if you keep having that tariff on foreign steel, we're going to go ahead and tell other nations to go ahead and put a tariff on American-made cars. Car industries don't like that. Car industries go to American politicians and say, what are you talking about putting a tariff on this steel? Let us have this steel so we can sell these cars. You politicians, if you want to get reelected, we're going to make sure you do what we say or we're going to stop funding your campaigns. And the politicians say, okay, we'll do what you say. And then they remove that tariff. That's the way that works. Maybe it shouldn't work that way, but that's the way it works. All right, regional trade agreements. Last slide of today. A regional trade agreement is something that works to increase free trade between regional local partners. Okay, certain nations are a part of these agreements. And if you're a part of it, then you have free trade with each other, but then maybe not with somebody else. Now, the United States, for example, is a member of the North American Free Trade Association, at least for now. President Trump is not a big fan of this one, but chances are we're still going to stay in it. It just might be renegotiated a little bit. But North American Free Trade Association is one of these regional trade agreements. The idea here is to increase trade between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, to reduce prices for all, and just help us get these goods from each other a little more easily. Of course, there is the downside of jobs moving to some of these countries that are better capable of producing goods at a lower cost. So regional trade organizations drive down costs, but also cause some disruption in the job market where jobs leave one country and go to another. Something important to know about all this trade, right? There are winners, there are losers, there's advantages, there's disadvantages. So you want to be careful of all of that. Wonderful. That was it for today. Hooray, we're done. I hope you learned something today, and farewell.